Welcome to Sons of Thunder. And today's topic is very intricate in the timing where we picked, right? It's very popular. What are we talking about today?
Well, it's certainly current events. What we're speaking about today is, well, we're going to answer the question, why is the governor of Texas and his state acting in opposition to the Biden administration and thereby the federal government, perhaps even acting in opposition to a Supreme Court ruling?
Yeah, so this is like going on right now as we speak. If you guys haven't heard about it, then that's why we're here, telling you stuff that you might not have known. But Texas is practically fighting against the rest or the government. Though I would say it wouldn't say the rest of the country because there's other states that are in on it too, right?
Well, yeah, there is. There's certainly in opposition to it. If you listen to the internet, it bounces around on the hinterlands of social media that the stage might be set for a civil war. I think that's a little bit of hyperbole.
A little
there.
drastic.
Yeah, it's a little bit much, probably.
But that's kind of how the Civil War started, with just kind of one state going against the norm and then others rallying up, right?
Well, this is a really peculiar situation. I can say that much. I mean, I haven't seen it that I can recall in my lifetime. I've been here a few years.
Yeah. So what's the government saying, and how's Texas fighting against it?
This is all in relation to the border crisis, or what is called the border crisis.
Border control, right?
Yeah, and it just has to do with Governor Abbott wanting to protect his state from what he considers to be an invasion. Now, the thing is, there's always been a problem with the border, right?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, go back as far as you want. There's always been people skipping over it illegally and coming across into the United States. And there's always been contraband. We're talking about, with pot or in prohibition, you got booze coming across the border.
Weapons, drugs,
criminals,
sex trafficking, all that type of stuff.
That has always been going on. And that's what the Democrats, that's why they say that, this is not a crisis, or at least they were saying that for the longest, up until about 5 minutes ago, it wasn't a crisis. Now they're starting to admit that it is.
Really?
But it's just because the problem sort of existed before doesn't mean they are what they are today. And along those lines, I have some statistics about what's going on at the border. And these come from the Congressional Committee on Homeland Security.
Okay.
Yeah. So this isn't some right-wing think tank. It's not just a bunch of conservative bloggers or anything like that. Okay.
So it's not one-sided, is what you're saying. These are real stats, right? These are real stats. No, whatever side you agree with.
Yeah, that's right, Corey. At any rate, encounters at the southwest border in 2023 increased over 40% since 2021, and more than 100% compared to 2019. That, of course, was when Trump was still in office.
Man.
Since Biden took office, there have been 7.5 million encounters nationwide and 6.2 million encounters at the southwest border, in addition to 1.7 million known getaways or gotaways.
So, wait, this is just a flooding of people coming in.
Yeah, there are estimates.
In the past 4 years?
There's estimates that I've read that say that there's about 10 million illegals or maybe asylum seekers or a combination of both in the United States at this time.
Jeez.
That's more than,
that's a bigger number than I thought you were going to say.
Most of our states don't have 10 million in population. So you're just adding a state here at least. Or, the population of Ireland is about half that. So we've put Ireland in the United States.
Half of the country's flooding in. Literally, right? They're coming from the country below, either Mexico or other countries.
It's double Ireland. So, and then I want to get through these real quick. In 2023, 169 individuals whose names appear on the terrorist watch list were stopped trying to cross the U.S.-Mexico border. That's ones that they caught. 169 terrorists they caught. How many were in the group gotaways that they don't even know about?
And this is on the list where people say we need to make sure these guys don't come in.
We got to stop these guys. They're known terrorists or suspected terrorists at the very least.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And also in 2023, the Border Patrol has arrested 35,430 some odd aliens with criminal convictions or outstanding warrants nationwide. I mean, you're talking about drug trafficking, great assaults, and that sort of thing, and over 600 of them were known gang members that they arrested. A good percentage of them, like 200 of them or so, are MS-13 members, which is the most. You've heard of that right before?
No.
Okay, it's like the most wicked, violent gang. It's one of the most wicked, violent gangs in the entire world.
Where are they from?
They're a Mexican gang. They're South American in general, I think.
Nice, nice. So those guys are just flooding through the border, and nothing is really stopping them.
Yeah, and not. But here's a kicker
great.
too. Here's a stat that you might be. In 2023, also, Border Patrol seized 27,293 pounds of fentanyl coming across the southwest border. Again, that's enough to kill 6 billion people. That's how much. That's how deadly this drug is, and that's how much got across our border. 6 billion people could end up dead from this stuff. And the U.S. population is only 341 million. So enough fentanyl came over that border
to kill the country
over and over
again. Well, I mean, anytime you have border safety, you always worry about the illegal substance or people or weapons that are crossing, right? And that's always, drugs are a thing, guns are a thing. So though the numbers are alarming, the actual substances isn't surprising, but the numbers of it are coming across, right?
Well, that's what makes this a deal right now is the numbers, the figures. Like we said, this stuff has always been happening, but it's happening at a rate right now that's unsustainable. I mean, if you look in cities like New York and Chicago, housing for asylum seekers is now beyond capacity, with the migrants spilling out into the streets, public parks, airports, and even police stations.
Now, asylum seekers, is that just a political way of saying people who don't have a home or are trying to find another home?
Well, see, that's a good question. The way I would see asylum seekers is this. Well, they're supposed to be people that are in fear of their life or their freedom. In other words, that in their country of origin, they're being persecuted. They could either be killed or put in prison or something like that.
So they come here so that they're seeking an asylum, like a safety.
And I think I think America should provide that asylum. But the tens of millions that are trying to come here and that have come here, they're more economic refugees. Their country. Well, it sucks. In America, it's better to live here. And I understand they want to come to the United States. I get it. I do. But that's half the world. No, it's probably more than half the world. Can we adjust to all those people?
No, I mean, I would say any country in the world probably couldn't.
No.
Unless you're Asia, you have the biggest landmass. But I mean, still.
It's not a matter of landmass. I'll tell you, Gordon, it's a matter of resources. Like these schools, as I was saying, in like New York and Chicago, they've even shut down schools temporarily to house immigrants. And the food banks and charities and medical and police resources are being overwhelmed. They can't handle all these people.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with myself personally, and that's what we do on this show, right? That's our slogan: truth, whether you like it or not. Yeah. So some people might not like me saying this, but I personally, just a personal opinion, I don't care about the border control. I don't. And I never really have. But then whenever numbers like this is thrown in, it's like, well, that's not so much border control anymore. It's just plain safety and, livelihood of the people, the place I live. So though it's a border control issue, this is just a sieve of people coming in and it's a waterfall of people. It's not 100 here or there, or 100 a day. This is in the thousands and the millions.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I think that you have to come to a point where you got to think of it as like you're on a boat that's sinking, like the Titanic, right? When that thing starts to go down, okay, who gets in the boat? Women and children first. Well, why? Because we We value them. And if there's room left over, everybody else gets in. Okay. Now, if you didn't make that rule, everybody would just pow in and the lifeboat would sink and nobody would survive. Now, I think it's the job of the United States government, as harsh as it sounds, it's their job to look after their own citizens.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that what the government's made for? It's supposed to be.
That's what it's there for.
Yeah, but I mean, how much can really anybody in the sound of our voice listen and rely on their government to help them in situations where they have need?
That's the question right now. And the New York City Mayor Eric Adams was speaking about his situation, and I'd just like you to hear that for a minute, and everybody to hear that. Buster, if you could bring up number 1.
Mayors of 3 of the country's biggest cities now say their areas are almost at capacity for handling the surge of migrants currently pouring over the U.S.-Mexico border. The mayors of New York City, Denver, and Chicago have all pleaded with federal authorities for assistance as the border sees a record number of crossings. Just yesterday, Mexico and the Biden administration formally agreed to work together to keep the border open for asylum seekers while curbing illegal migration.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams shared this video to address constituents on the matter just yesterday. Let's watch.
We're seeing the erosion of the quality of life that we've improved on in such a short period of time of this administration. And we have been impacted. For many months, we were able to keep the visualization of this crisis from hitting our streets, but we have reached a breaking point. We're no longer able to do that because of the volume in numbers. Just last week, we had 3,900 people that arrived here. We are averaging anywhere from 2,500 to close to 4,000 a week. And if you do the math, you see that's 8,000 every 2 weeks, potentially 16,000 a month that we must feed, clothe, house, educate children, and all the services that you would give a normal adult. And we're seeing that play out on our streets of New York. And that is what the breaking point looks like, what we are experiencing right now.
Damn.
That's what I'm talking about, and that's what happens. There are a finite amount of resources in the country and in these cities. You can't just accept everybody who's having a bad time.
But that's New York. We're supposed to be talking about Texas here.
Yeah, well, I know. It's all the way in Texas.
So that means they're crossing, PA. They're crossing Kansas. They're crossing, all the states to get up to New York.
Yeah, actually, Greg Abbott is shipping some of them there in buses. You got to remember, New York City said that they were a sanctuary city. That means they actually asked, before all this stuff happened, they asked immigrants to come to their city, and they said that they're going to be welcome, and we'll take care of you. We'll house.
Were they welcoming 8,000 every 2 weeks?
Yeah. Now that that's happening, now that it's actually happening, they're not so much a sanctuary city anymore.
I mean, once again, we could talk about how we should be a sanctuary to those that are, in need, but 8,000 every 2 weeks, that's not a sanctuary, that's a takeover.
Yeah,
right?
No country could handle this, and the United States isn't any different. But because of all this, last week Governor Greg Abbott sent Texas state troopers to close off Eagle State Park, which is a major corridor for illegal border crossings into Texas, and denied federal agents access to the area. He then reinforced the area against the illegal crossings by setting up razor wire barricades. And Buster, if you could bring up, we got a photo of that.
Okay, so this is the state funded almost, right? Border control.
Yeah, this is one area. Yeah.
Now I saw that guy in the video. He's trying to climb through. This would be deadly to try to climb through. You're going to get caught. You're going to get cut. You're going to get, you could even get trapped. But I got to say, I mean, it looks like it does. It's not, as we were talking before, pretty. It's not like a structure.
Well, it's not supposed to be pretty. They need to build a wall there is what they need to do.
But if that's stopping people, I guess, hey, do it.
Yeah, I think the main thing is if you're looking at that from across the Rio Grande, you're not gonna swim to that razor wire. You're going to try to find somewhere else to cross.
Yeah, around it, right.
Yeah, it's crazy to just swim there.
So Texas, the governor of Texas is doing this. He's making this.
Yeah, Governor Abbott's doing this.
But Biden says stop doing it, right?
That's right. I mean, there's 30 miles of this stuff, and Abbott says he's putting it up because of Biden's reckless open border policy. But President Biden, like you brought up, said that they need that. They need to be able to move that wire. They need to be able to cut it. The border agents do. You got to remember they're federal agents. They need to be able to cut it in order for the border police to do their jobs.
Which is what?
I think it's mostly that they're talking about if a person gets caught there or something, they need to be able to get him out. If people are drowning, I don't know, maybe to get from one place to another, supposedly to do their job. But that's not what the Border Patrol says. The Border Patrol union, a fellow by the name of, Brandon Judd. He's the president of the Border Patrol union. Let me give you a quotation of his right here. He said regarding the Supreme Court ruled that the federal government has a right to move that wire if they want to, and to move it and to get rid of it.
Okay.
And that's what the fight is going on here.
Right.
Abbott's saying I got a right to protect my state, and I have a right to put it there. But the Supreme Court of the United States did rule that the federal government has a right to take that stuff down, and they use Border Patrol in order to do it. Now, here's what the
Border Patrol works for the government. So,
right, they're federal.
It's their job. Whatever they tell you do, whether you agree or not.
They're agents of the federal government.
Right.
Yeah. But what the president of the union said, he said, "Now, let me be really, really clear. We do not like this ruling. The ruling that says that they have to cut the wire. Yeah. We do not want to cut the razor wire," he said. This is not a border. There is not a Border Patrol agent out there that thinks it's okay to cut that razor wire.
Wow.
Unfortunately, because of the Supreme Court ruling, it has become a lawful order. So he doesn't have a choice, even though he agrees with what Abbott's doing. He doesn't have a choice, and he has to obey his superiors, the chain of command.
Yeah, so he has to do something he doesn't want to do because his boss is telling him to do it, but he doesn't agree with it. At the same time, he lives in the state that the guy is telling him we're going to put this up. How do you fight this? This is going back and forth, and this makes a problem even not only because from state to government, Texas to the government, but it also makes now as you go smaller and more minute, it goes employee to employer, and then it goes to also like where you live compared to your state. Your state's saying no, but you work for the government who says yes. Like this is a mess.
You got to consider too. It's like you have on the one side you have the Border Patrol agents who aren't all keen about this stuff. Certainly they're not. And on the other side you have the Texas National Guard, and they're going to listen to Abbott, and they're going to string this barbed wire up, this razor wire up wherever they go. So it's like they could feel like, well, I'm in violation of the Supreme Court.
This kind of reminds me of the old cartoon Pink Panther. Whenever he was painting a pink wall, and that little white guy painter, he's painting a blue wall, and they just keep on going right behind them, the person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
No, you don't.
No,
you have no idea
don't.
what I'm talking about. Like, well, he's putting down the fence, but this guy's bringing up the fence, and he's putting it on the fence. He's bringing up the fence. Pink Panther, blue, white.
I understand.
You don't get this? What I'm saying?
I understand.
Okay.
I'm just not saying I think it's.
It's valid. It's valid.
Okay. Anyway, but Governor Abbott did write a letter, kind of an open letter, to the Biden administration, and he explained why he's doing this. I'm just going to read a brief part of it. I won't read the whole thing. He said, the federal government has broken the compact between the United States and the states. The executive branch of the United States has a constitutional duty to enforce federal laws protecting states, including immigration laws on the books right now. President Biden has refused to enforce those laws and has even violated them. The result is that he has smashed records for illegal immigration. And he went on to say, for those reasons, I have already declared an invasion under Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, to invoke Texas's constitutional authority to defend and protect itself.
So in other words, he's saying he's being invaded and the government isn't helping him in that invasion, so then he has to protect himself.
And my understanding is this is not being just hyperbolic. It's a legal, technical thing. If this allows him to more or less disobey the federal government because his state is being invaded, thereby making it legal for him to do whatever is necessary to protect his state. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I don't know because I don't pretend to be a constitutional lawyer, but I'm telling you, he's calling this an invasion for those purposes. And I think you could say it's certainly an invasion.
Yeah, I mean it's a valid argument, either way you take it. But quite frankly, I personally find it hard for you take the government's side on this, right? I mean, we don't live in Texas, right? But this is proving that they're coming up here, right? They're coming up north.
Yeah, well, the numbers don't lie.
And so let's say he's like, all right, I'll do whatever Biden tells me, and Biden says keep it all open. Well, that means just the floodgate of people are coming in, and the country is affected, not just Texas.
Yeah, absolutely, we're seeing it in
Texas, the front line,
New York and Chicago, and all those, and a lot of other places, and it's only going to keep getting worse. I mean, as an update, a record-breaking 302,000 illegal aliens crossed the southern border in the month of December.
Jeez,
302,000. You keep doing those numbers month by month. I mean, how many does that work out to be? I don't know, but it's ridiculous. And so the Border Patrol agents will obey the federal government and cut the wire, and the Texas National Guard will continue to obey the state of Florida the state of Texas and install more razor wire. Now, but
do you see the Pink Panther effect? What I'm talking about now.
Yeah, I don't.
You see the Pink Panther?
You're not making it work better by reiterating it. All right, but it's not not just this. Abbott is not going off into la la land and crazy world here. There's 25 governors that have expressed sympathy for Abbott and what he's doing, and in fact, even solidarity. Buster number 3, please. There's a map that's showing of course, the states in red are the ones that have aligned themselves with Governor Abbott.
Wow.
So half the states, half the country has aligned itself with Abbott, and
would we are we okay to say that the gray is not aligning, or they're just neutral?
It wouldn't even be good to say that. I mean, look, if you look on that map, New York is not aligning with Texas on this. But
they're telling you that they have problems.
But they're saying, "Hey, we're swamped. We're doomed here. Somebody better do something." So, I mean, maybe the officials aren't going to officially state that they're in favor of what Abbott is doing. But I bet you the people that are living there in New York, especially in New York City, are saying, "Geez, I hope Abbott is successful."
Yeah, and I find it very interesting. I mean, it's also just a geographical thing that if you look at the map, the red, other than New Mexico, it's all around Texas because they know, hey, if Texas can't stop this, then we're right there. They're coming into our place. We're being invaded too. Yeah. We're next.
Yeah, you're absolutely right with that too. And lastly, there's one other group that's siding with Governor Abbott on this, and that's a group called Take Our Border Back. It is a convoy of truckers that is going to go to various to border towns in Arizona, Texas, and California. They're going to have protest rallies, against the massive illegal immigration. They're designed to bring attention to it. And
what are they doing? They're just going to these cities to make rallies, or
they're supposedly truckers, supposedly convoy of trucks. The organizers say that there's going to be thousands of them. I don't know that that's the case. They're patterning themselves off of. I don't know if you remember the trucker protests in Canada. They were protesting the vaccine mandates.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. Yes, yeah.
They were shutting down highways and bridges and stuff like that. These people say that they're just going to pray and have rallies and things like that. I don't know what's going to happen here. It's too.
So these convoys aren't coming from those red states. They're just coming. They're just like a group of
If
people.
yeah, they could be coming from all over. I think
Okay.
officially the convoy started out in Virginia or something like that. I can't recall. Like I said, I don't know really what's going on with this. It's probably going to be news later on today.
Yeah, I mean
tonight.
that could help the uprising, and the Texas is already going through.
Well,
Right?
it's,
Yeah.
it's something to be concerned, a little bit concerned about, though, and it's not because these people are bad people; they're probably good people. But if you actually do get thousands of people together, and then you have counter protesters, and
Yeah.
it's sketchy.
Yep.
It's sketchy, and bad things can happen. But look, these guys have a right to do what they're doing, and frankly, I'm behind them on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's in the final analysis. What do you think? Okay, we've been through this. What are you saying about what Abbott's doing?
I think that what he's doing, like we said, is you can understand it, right?
Yeah.
It's something that you want to protect your land, but at the same time, he is a governor, and your boss is the government, right?
Federal government.
So it's just another layer of the whole. My boss is telling me one thing, and I want to do another. That's what this whole thing's about. Quite frankly, it's just on a political level instead of job level. But it's a delicate situation because if you said he's wrong, well, then they would say, how would you do better? And if he says he's right, then it's like, well, so you're willing to go against your government. It's like, well, how do we take this?
I'm sort of with you there. I don't like disobeying authorities such as, the president of the United. I'm a patriot. I'm in favor of the United States government. I don't like the idea of out and out rebellion and all that stuff. But on the other hand, I look at what's happening to the country, these masses of people coming across that we can't handle. It's not good for them. It's not good for us. It's not good for the citizens. It's not good for anybody all around. And I don't know. I certainly have sympathy for what the governor's doing and the protesters and and the other governors that are in favor of him. I'm kind of. I guess I got to say I'm with them.
Yeah, I mean, we take what our topics, no matter what we give you, we always take it kind of at face value, and then we see what does the Bible say. The Bible would tell you to obey your government if it's not going against God Himself, which this is not going against God Himself, but at the same time, you do need to protect yourself, and you're told to protect your family, and you're told to protect those that are under you. So then how does he judge this? How would you judge this?
Yeah, who knows? I will say this though. Abbott thinks that will claim, and I think he believes he's following the Constitution. Therefore, everything he's doing is legal.
I would think
what I
he is.
mean?
And he's using quotes from the Constitution of how he does actions, right?
So if that's the case, he's not violating Scripture as far as that's in that regard.
Well, we should call this episode the Pink Panther effect. Yeah.
No,
No?
we shouldn't.
No?
That
Okay.
makes no sense.
Right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Sons of Thunder and the topic. Please comment and like and subscribe at the bottom, and we'll be back for next week for more of your topics.